What's up, guys? I'm Tim Gettys. This is the Kind of Funny Reacts to Doctor Strange the movie. I'm here with the coolest dudes in movie reviews.
Hell yeah.
Greg Miller and Nick Scarpino.
Hoy hoy.
Let's start this off right how we normally do our Kind of Funny Reacts movie reviews.
Yes.
What do you think? No
So spoiler-free.
Spoiler-free. Should people see this movie, Greg?
This, you know that I don't like space, I don't like magic, and I'm a DC guy. Ladies and gentlemen, this was a delightful film. Fun top to bottom, great performances. Yes, you should go see this. I had a ball.
I would also agree that we should go see this.
No one
should go
asked
see
you.
this. Oh, I'm sorry.
Nick, what do you think that people should do about this movie?
You can talk now, Nick.
Okay. I really liked it. I think people should go see it, and this is the first for me. I think people should see it in 3D, and I think they should see it in IMAX
What?
3D. Yeah, I think
What?
it's that kind of film where it's got a good story, but it really is a tour de force when it comes to the actual visuals of this. And I didn't realize it until I saw the camera system they used at the end, which I think was shot on Alexa 65, which is a kind of a native IMAX style format. So I think it would be worth seeing it again in IMAX if they do IMAX 3D. Not the least of which because I think this is a movie. This is a movie that you should see on a big screen. Do not wait for this to come to your freaking iPad or your home
Virgin
TV.
America.
But if it's
Virgin
on the
America.
back of a Virgin America seat, you got to watch
No,
it
no,
too.
I
You know
think
what I'm
that-
saying? So
and
that you're ready to fly.
Long story short, I really liked it. I think people should run out and see it.
I agree. This movie was awesome. It was way more than anything I could have ever expected from it. I think that we obviously have a lot of history when it comes to Marvel movies and what Marvel movies can be. And this is an origin story. And I think that this beat out many of the origin stories, especially when we start looking at characters that, to be honest, most people don't care about. So Doctor Strange being
Captain
one of them,
America.
Thor, Captain America, I'd even put
care
in
about
another
Captain
tier.
America.
Okay,
Season.
well,
Season.
Thor though, like, you know, I remember going into Thor and being like, I don't care at all.
Yeah.
And walking out of the theater and being like, huh, that was good.
Yeah, it was fun.
I liked that.
I think it's above that though. You know what I mean? That's the okay.
So what blows me away is Ant-Man, same thing. Don't give a shit about Ant-Man. Go into Ant-Man and watch it and came out and was like,
was fun.
wow,
I had a
that
good
was
time.
really good. This, awesome. I put this on the level of the Guardians in terms of origin tales, where it's like this movie was super awesome and introduced us to characters that people aren't too familiar with. And the most important thing, this is something that Guardians nailed as well, it had an identity.
Yeah,
This movie
100%.
entirely from the visuals, from the characters, from the story. The sound design was amazing. The fight choreography, the action scenes, the villains, everything. There was an identity to it, and it all felt grounded in the world. But that world feels like it belongs in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Very
and
true,
that's
very true.
Super awesome.
For me, what you just said, I put Guardians ahead of it because I think Guardians is such a great movie and such a great. Oh my god, I left so happy. I think this is on par with Iron Man. Where when I remember going into Iron Man and being like, I know a little bit about Iron Man and whatever. Like, let's see what he's an alcoholic, right? And I remember when I am Iron Man, the credits roll, and I was like, what? That was awesome. What a fucking fun ride that was. And that's what I thought here. And to what you're talking about, the identity and character, the whole time I'm watching this movie, I'm just like, has Doctor Strange always been this fun? Because I've always known him as Spider-Man needs help and swings over to his house. Like when they're like, oh, well, that's a spoiler, I guess. When Spider-Man swings over, not the Spider-Man's not in this movie, but in the comics, when Spider-Man goes to Doctor Strange's house, which I now
Spoilers.
understand what his house is based on this movie, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like talks to Doctor Strange or whatever. Doctor Strange to me always just seemed like some weird magic guy, like some adult who knew magic. Never really was fun, never was interesting. And like here he has so much depth to him. There's so many different things. And he was funny and he was an asshole and he was all these things. I was like, oh, cool. I like this guy. I'd like to read Doctor Strange comics if it's like this.
Well, so I fall in kind of a different camp than this, where I am by no means an expert in Doctor Strange. He's definitely one of the heroes that I'm way less familiar with in terms of Marvel. But I have read an extensive amount of Doctor Strange things because I read the entire Ultimate Universe. Now, granted, Ultimate Universe, different version of the story. But I've also read a lot of 616 Spider-Man comics and other stuff. So Doctor Strange is there. And he in those at least is a bit more fun of a character. I'd say he's more similar to like Tony Stark in terms of like he's sarcastic and quippy a bit more than he is in this. But I feel like the Marvel Cinematic Universe had to have this character be different because
Sure.
we already
We
had
already
that
have a Tony
character.
Stark.
We already have an Ant-Man even. You know, like Paul Rudd's Ant-Man is very kind of like funny, you
Yeah.
know? So I feel like they did a great job of giving Doctor Strange his own identity, which was he was an asshole. And I think that they built that really well. And this movie, I was telling Kevin that for me, the biggest things that I think it did right were it had an identity. It didn't pull punches, and it kind of gave us way more than I expected to get out of it.
Yeah.
And most importantly, a lot of the things that happened felt earned. And I feel like there was a lot of character development. And when you look at Strange's kind of arc in this movie, it's like, wow, there was growth and it makes sense and it didn't go too far. And there wasn't too many moments where I had to suspend my disbelief, which is saying a lot when they introduced magic into this whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. I mean, it was, for me, I think the movie does a great job, or rather, I think the movie's good almost in spite of itself. It's a very well put together film, right? Casting's great. Story is great. The way it sort of culminates into the climax and I don't want to, we're getting into spoiler territory right here, but kind of the way it wraps up, I think is very fulfilling and well supported, right? These are not things that we've traditionally seen in those kind of one-off origin stories. You can tell that a lot of care was actually spent on the script, crafting a story that they knew I'm not going to go out there and say that it's wholly original, right? This is not going to blow you away the way The Matrix blew me away the first time I saw it, right? But it is a very, very, very beautiful example of what you can get when you sort of paint by numbers, or where you have like Van Gogh paint by the numbers. Do you know what I mean? Like you get all these masters that can come in and do this stuff and make this film. You got Benedict Cumberbatch, you've got Rachel McAdams, you've got Mads Mikkelsen. I can never say his last name.
Was he the bad guy?
He was a bad guy. Yeah.
I remember
He played
his
the
name
shift.
came up for, maybe it was when he got cast in this, but I remember
Yeah.
when his name came up on Colin Moriarty. I was like, I don't know who this guy is. So
He played I know my touchdown for him is that he played Le Chiffre in Casino Royale. He was the bad guy that cried blood. So he was the first really good Bond villain we'd seen in a while, specifically in the Daniel Craig verse. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that this was the most mind-blowing of plots. It really isn't. It's the standard sort of paint by numbers Marvel film, right? But it is so expertly executed here that it makes it actually enjoyable and fun. And I think that to the credit of the directors and the producers and the creative team behind this, they gave Benedict Cumberbatch just enough like creative freedom to really own that character, right? And really actually make that character that is kind of just a combination of a lot of the other Marvel characters. Like he really is kind of Tony Stark in this a little bit. If you think about it, like really rich, really not ignorant, egotistical kind of guy that thinks he can control the world, and then spoilers, it turns out that he can't.
yeah, but that's the thing though. They rip him out of that pretty quick.
But they rip him out of that pretty quick.
Come back to
I mean,
it.
it's the Stark story, right? It is it's pretty much that, and he has to discover that he's got it within himself to whatever.
So
take over
okay,
the team.
now are we done with spoiler free discussion?
Sure. If you haven't seen this movie and you don't want anything spoiled, turn it off now. But we all say you should see this movie.
Absolutely.
So
Okay.
now we're going to spoiler zone. Highway to the spoiler zone.
I'm impressed you didn't bump into some beatbox.
Gonna be the
that too.
highway to the spoiler zone.
This is why I love working here. So, moving on to spoilers. The thing that I think really kind of took this beyond the Iron Man movie, the first Iron Man movie, was that Iron Man kind of had that villain that was just kind of there. Generic, and also at the end.
Obadiah Stane, generic.
It just kind of like happens, and the climax isn't so much about the fight as much as it's about the just here's a character, and now you get to see him use his powers for the first time.
Right.
This movie went beyond that. There was the character. There was all right, here's another guy that does the same things this guy does, but he learned first. It's the generic plot, right?
Yeah.
But then they're like, nope, Dormammu's in this, and not only is Dormammu in this, they've been talking about him the entire time, so we have a frame of reference for who he is and what he can do, and he's going to face him. And not only is he going to face him, you're going to get a resolution of that checks out and makes sense and feels fulfilling.
See,
he's wholly overpowered, right? Or he can't be stopped. There's no way to get him.
That is for me the number one sin that normally happens in these films, right? Is that the resolution is not fulfilling. The way our main character goes about solving whatever the main problem is generally tends to fall flat. This one, while I actually did not see this coming, I did not know what he was going to do when he went there. It was set up a little bit at the very beginning, right, in the middle of the second act or whatever, when they talk about how bad it is to fuck with time, and how you can
There's no time here.
Well, exactly. Or he has that one line where he's like, bad things can happen. Like you can you can get stuck in a time loop, or you can never exist at all, right? Which is a very, very cleverly written line because it sets you up to think the expectation is that at some point later in the line, he's going to fuck with time and it's really going to be to his peril, right? But what I wasn't expecting was he was going to use that little loophole, no pun intended, to go and bargain with what's his name?
Dookie.
Dormammu,
right?
Dormammu.
And I was like, oh, that's really clever. That is how a genius intellect doctor would have figured this out, right? He's not going to use time to like. I mean, he uses time obviously to kind of get to that point, but he uses time to outsmart the guy that doesn't have a concept of time.
Yeah,
it was really cool,
man. And it was cool. It felt fulfilling, and I think in a way more important way, it didn't make Dormammu look like some weak ass shit. Like we've seen Fantastic Four
he didn't
movies.
lose, right?
Exactly, and that's the thing is like in the Fantastic Four movies, them beating freaking Galactus. It's like really, and like I feel like anytime there's this larger than life threat, it's always like wow, that is like super weak and bullshit.
Exactly,
like,
and that's the thing about it. Whereas on paper, I should hate this, right? I don't like the Cloud villains. I hated Parallax and Green Lantern, of course, right? But here we are. Dharma and Greg comes in. He's just some purple cloud out in space or whatever. But it's the fact that they did set him up. I knew he was coming. He wasn't weird and stupid. He wasn't coming in just eating buildings. He was there. And like the fact that we got to go in, I always love it in a superhero movie or any movie, I guess, when you get to jump in and see, oh, fuck, this city's destroyed and all these people are dead. And then they rewind time and you see people going through windshields and getting fucked up. And you're like, all right, yeah, I understand that what's at stake here. And then to go and outsmart them on that level was awesome.
Yeah, it was super cool. And you see this character, and not only did not make him look weak from dying in some bitch ass way, but more importantly, it showed the power that he had where he utterly destroyed Doctor Strange over and over and over and over in different ways. And it was so awesome and so clever. And I loved it that scene felt like a video game. It felt like the end of Marvel vs. Capcom when you're fighting against the big bad guy and you just keep getting destroyed by these bullshit ass moves over and over and over, but you get to keep retrying. But they made that feel awesome in a movie, which I thought was really cool. And that, to me, I felt like the entire movie was designed around those sequences. Like they had a couple big points and they're like, all right, how do we get from here to here? How do we get from here to here? And I loved that because it really felt like we got something. Earlier, we were talking about the airport scene in Civil War.
Yeah.
And that scene was so amazing. When you think back to all the other Marvel movies, that will be one of those scenes that you remember. I was like, oh yeah, that is Civil War to me. I think Doctor Strange has a lot of that stuff where it all kind of blends together, where it's like every action scene was unique and added some layer that I was like, I didn't see that coming, or I've never seen this before.
Right.
And whether it was the intro fight scene where there was a lot of Inception style fighting we saw a lot in the trailers, or the hospital fight scene where they're literally fighting through dimensions.
They're in a different plane. That was awesome. That was so
cool.
Well done. And like, I loved it when they'd slam into things in their plane and it would just like rock like a thing. And Rachel McAdams was looking around. That was really, really well done.
So cool. And then that final fight, it's like, these movies, superhero movies, once it gets to that third act, it has the biggest chance of falling apart.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially in terms of action, especially in terms of the villains and stuff. And I feel like this did something that none of the other Marvel movies really have, where it's like, in addition to having Dormammu and all those epic moments and stuff, the moment that he started rewinding time, I was like, here we go. Here's where this all falls apart and it's going to be super generic. And then within a second, I was like, wow, they proved me wrong. We're now going to get a fight scene where these guys break the time thing and are fighting while things are rewinding, and they're using that to fight each other.
Yeah, that was cool. Like the part where you start realizing that was when she gets hid in the fish tank.
Yeah, that was
like
awesome.
He throws her and the fish tank like goes around her and she's like stuck in the water. I'm like, that was genius.
Yeah, the cars going back and forth, dodging all of them. And the one thing too is that the guy there, Dharma and Greg's friend, the guy who had the purple eyes or whatever. What I really dug about him, number one, he was funny. Because that whole like, I'm Mr. Doctor Strange. It sounds strange. Yeah, that was awesome. But the fact that like his lines when he's like held there and he's in like bondage or whatever, where he's talking about the fact of just like, he is life and he is this. Like, as somebody who doesn't know anything, obviously I know he's the bad guy. I know Doctor Strange is the good guy. I assume Tilda Swinton's the good guy too. But I'm like, well, I believe you. I believe in why you could totally think this is a real thing and why you think she's wrong. And you are raising good points of why wouldn't she share immortality with everybody? You're making me question it, even though I know it's black and white to an extent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was really well done too. I mean, that was talk about just enough motivation for that character not to be incredibly one-dimensional. Like he still was to a certain degree, because like they alluded to the fact that obviously he was broken when he came there. He's trying to find immortality, right? But he's obviously clearly living, so that begs the question, what happened in his past? Who died? that was close to him. His family died, everyone he know died. Like what was that backstory that we didn't get a lot of that really drives him toward this? But I'm like, that's generic all the way up until the point where you realize that Tilda Swinton is not necessarily as good as you think she is, or as altruistic as you think she is, and then it really does kind of serve to back that up. I think that character was probably the only. That was a little shaky for me, just because I'm like, that is a little. I mean, you have to have that generic character that's moving the plot along. But the movie was so fun, and Mads Mikkelsen. I'm saying his last name, so I'm just gonna call him Mads, the guy with the bad eyes. He's such a great actor. Cumberbatch nails the role that you almost just kind of wanted to see them interact more. I almost wanted to see them talk more and fight less, because it was fun to watch those two actors share screen time together.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately it did the one thing that it needed to do. I want to see more of it. I want to see another Doctor Strange. I want to see him pop up now in
Ragnarok. That was great when he pops up, and then like there was no bullshitting around about it. Okay, I can help you find Odin. I was like, oh, that's fucking great. I can't wait for that. Especially if it is the buddy cop thing everybody's talking about, with it being, Hulk and Thor and now fucking Strange in there. That's right.
Well, speaking of buddy cops, best character in this movie,
Benjamin Bratt.
The
Wong.
cape.
Oh,
the cape.
The motherfucking
awesome.
cape.
Yeah.
So awesome. I love that. I feel like it added a levity to the movie that was very, very needed. And
could have been a really bad move, by the way. Like having that cape.
Digital cape, yeah.
No, not necessarily that. Because the cape saves him over and over and over again. Which was starting to beg the question for me. I was like, wait a minute, why doesn't it just save him every single time something bad's about to happen to him, right? But like, so that could have been they used it very, very sparingly, which I thought was good. But there was at one point in the mansion when he first has it, I'm like, where the guy that he eventually ends up killing was attacking him. I was like, well, the cape should just save him here too. And sure as shit, the cape like wraps around his face and starts pounding him into the ground.
Is so awesome.
And I was like, well, okay, I'll buy that.
I'm surprised you, Tim, say that you like the cape, because to me, you're Doctor Strange and Kevin Coelho is the cape.
Oh,
and when it started like pawing at his face, and he's like, "No, stop!" I was like, "That's
honestly,
Tim and Kevin."
I thought that exact same thing, and I was like, God damn it! But I love Kevin. At the end of the day,
yeah, but I don't think you'd be like,
yeah, it is. It is what it is. But it reminds me of the magic carpet from Aladdin, which is great. I like the whole saving him thing. It has a life of its own. You buy it. You instantly get that it's not that he's controlling the cape. You know what I mean?
No, it's the cape is very much the wand chooses the wizard, not the other way around. Right?
Which is
like there's
cool.
that great scene where he's just trying to run toward the axe and the thing's pulling him toward the prison thing, the change rather.
Yeah,
that was really, really cool. I thought that was great.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I think ultimately for me this movie just does enough right.
Yeah, it was great, man. It was so much fun.
Yeah,
I'm interested. I want to see more. I want to see him in the movies. I want to see him now interact with the Avengers. I want to see Doctor Strange as part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
It's awesome too. And this one is one of those that felt like a comic book, right? There's a couple small references seasoned throughout. Like there's a great reference to Rhodey, right, where he's talking about
there's a Air Force pilot or whatever
got paralyzed. That was cool. And it's like it just keeps drawing you in. I think it's really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you think about Doctor Strange? Let us know in the comments below. Until next time.
No. One thing before we go. I want you to know right now, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening or watching this, and I guess you're only watching it, maybe you're listening while you do some work. If you think you can go to a movie theater and use your phone during the movie and people won't call you out for it, and I mean yell at you inside of a theater, look at this face right here, because I'll fucking do it. Don't be an asshole.
Fun fact, the last 2 movies I've seen, the person I've gone to see him with has done that exact thing.
It needs to be done.
You could have asked politely the first time.
No.
It could have been
a lot of things. Could have been, he's a grown man. Like, it wasn't during the coming attractions. We were into the first fight. Things are happening. Strange showed up for the first time. And that's when I was like, you've had enough phone time now, sir.
Yeah.
You're turning. Because it happens all the time where.
Well, that guy clearly didn't want to be there, by the way.
You'll see it 14 rows in front of you. And you're like, well, I can't scream across all these people. But this guy happened to be right in front of me.
doesn't stop him.
Good. They shouldn't be. Like, it shouldn't be put on me for yelling at this guy. It should be put on this guy for being a fucking asshole.
I'll put it on you. You were 100% in the right.
You didn't help me at all. You went Jesus, Greg. You said Jesus.
Well,
Greg.
You went full Nick on him.
You did go full Nick on him.
You went
guess
0
what?
to Nick?
Because exactly. Because guess what? That gets results. It's like when I yelled at those kids to shut up once during Friday the 13th reboot. It gets results.
It does get
and
results.
Again, it's not like he didn't know he was doing something wrong.
Yeah.
He wasn't trying to tilt it down. He had his brightness as normal brightness. Like, you're a fucking dick. I know. And that was the thing. He's not texting mom at the top. He's just fucking looking at a Twitter conversation. Look at him beat your fucking ass, sir.
Damn. Things escalated quickly.
And you know where Kind of Funny is now, so if you watch our content, come and get me.